Can you believe it if someone told you that working too much and not getting enough sleep could affect your mind and body in a way similar to PTSD? In our society, we usually talk about stress and trauma in different ways. We use stress to describe how we feel when we're annoyed, pressured, or anxious about everyday things like deadlines or problems with our car. Trauma, on the other hand, is used for the long-lasting effects of really bad events, like a big accident. But guess what? Stress and trauma have more in common than you might think. Both can make our bodies react in a stressed way, and both can really harm our mental and physical health. In this video, based on the book Widen the Window by Elizabeth A. Stanley, we'll learn about how stress and trauma affect us. We'll also find out how we sometimes make our pain worse without even realizing it. But don't worry, we'll also discover some practical exercises to deal with stress in a positive way. During the video, you'll learn why sometimes your thinking brain and your survival brain don't agree. You'll also see how focusing on certain parts of your body, like your buttocks, can help release stress. And we'll explain why a little bit of stress can actually be good for you. But before we continue, if you're new to our channel, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. In our culture, stress and trauma are often seen as separate issues. Stress is sometimes viewed as a status symbol, indicating how busy and important we are. For instance, when people boast about having multiple projects and tight deadlines, they may consider it a sign of their productivity and success. On the other hand, trauma is regarded as a serious and enduring condition that results from a horrific event, like being in a life-threatening accident or experiencing a natural disaster. However, when we consider our minds and bodies, stress and trauma are connected on a spectrum. This means that our reactions to seemingly minor stressors and major traumatic events have similarities. Let's take an example to illustrate this. Imagine receiving an angry email from your boss and also facing a situation where someone threatens you with a gun. While these situations are vastly different in severity, both activate a survival response in your brain, just to varying degrees. In the case of the email, your body may respond with increased heart rate and tension, while in the life-threatening situation, the response would be much stronger and might involve adrenaline, rush, and fear. Our brain can be divided into two primary parts. The top part is known as the thinking brain, which helps us with cognitive functions like thinking, planning, and remembering. For instance, when you make a to-do list or recall a past event, your thinking brain is at work. The bottom part is the survival brain, responsible for essential functions like breathing, sleeping, and reacting to stress. These functions occur automatically without us consciously thinking about them. To identify potential threats, the survival brain uses a system called neuroception. This process allows your brain to scan the environment for any signs of danger. For example, when you hear a sudden loud noise or encounter a suspicious person, your brain quickly assesses the situation to determine if there is a threat. When the survival brain detects a threat, it activates your body's stress response through the autonomic nervous system, ANS. The ANS has two branches, the sympathetic nervous system, SENS, which turns on the stress response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, PSNS, which turns it off. Let's consider an example of how the stress response works in a real-life situation. Imagine you are walking alone in a dimly lit park at night, and you suddenly notice a hooded figure blocking your path. Your survival brain quickly perceives this as a potential threat, and the stress response is activated through the SNS. You might feel your heart rate increase, your muscles tense up, and a rush of adrenaline. In response to the perceived threat, your mind-body system has three lines of defense. Social engagement system. At first, you might instinctively look around for other people or try to call for help, seeking safety in numbers. Fight or flight response. If you find yourself alone with the potential threat, the SNS triggers your body to prepare for action. You might consider confronting the person or choosing to run away, depending on the situation. Freeze response. In some cases, you may feel completely powerless to escape or defend yourself. Your survival brain might activate the freeze response as a last resort, which is often associated with trauma. In this state, your body might go limp, and your mind may blank out as a defense mechanism. It's essential to understand that while stress and trauma may appear different, they are interconnected in how our body responds to them. Recognizing this connection can help us better care for our mental and physical well-being. By understanding our stress responses and how they may lead to traumatic experiences, we can take steps to manage stress and cope with trauma in healthier ways. Stress can affect our bodies and minds if we don't take time to recover. When we experience stress, our body's survival response helps us deal with it. But afterward, our body and brain need time to rest and recover. Recovery from stress is managed by the survival brain. It helps our brain, hormones, immune system, and nervous system get back to a healthy balance. But for recovery to happen, the survival brain needs to feel safe. Chronic stress and unresolved trauma can make it hard for the survival brain to feel safe. As a result, our stress response stays active, and we can't let go of the stress. This can lead to our body focusing on short-term survival instead of long-term health. We produce stress hormones, but not enough of the hormones needed for growth and well-being. Dysregulation can happen after trauma when the survival brain struggles to recover after a very stressful event. Reduce stress, it keeps thinking we are still in danger, even when the threat is gone. Dysregulation can also happen because of chronic stress when we are under constant pressure, worry a lot, or don't get enough sleep. In such cases, our survival brain can't find a sense of safety because we are not allowing ourselves to rest. It's important to know that our survival brain can't tell the difference between real physical threats and fears that only exist in our minds. So, ongoing negative thoughts can be just as harmful as a traumatic event. Trying to think our way out of stress doesn't always work because our survival brain manages stress beyond our control. Even if we try to convince ourselves that everything is okay, the survival brain may still see a threat. The best way to prevent dysregulation is to ensure proper recovery. Taking time to rest and recover can protect us from the harmful effects of dysregulation. This will be explained more in the next part of the video. Dysregulation means that our body and mind are not functioning properly, which can cause problems for us. There are two ways dysregulation can happen. We might feel very active, anxious, and restless. It's like our body and mind are always on high alert, making it hard to relax and rest. Or, we might feel very tired, sad, and overwhelmed. It's like our body and mind are shutting down and we don't have any energy. These two modes are connected to different parts of our brain controlling our behavior. Sometimes, we try to push ourselves too hard, even when we are stressed and need a break. We might think we can handle everything and ignore the signs that our body needs rest. But this way of thinking is not good for us in the long run. After pushing ourselves too much, our body and mind can't take it anymore, and we end up feeling overwhelmed and out of control. This pattern of pushing too hard and then crashing is not healthy. It can lead to many problems with our mental and physical health. For example, it can cause depression, anxiety, trouble sleeping, and even serious diseases like diabetes and asthma. Also, dysregulation affects how well our brain works. When we are stressed for a long time, it can make it harder to remember things, think clearly, and make good decisions. In summary, dysregulation means that our body and mind are not working together well, which can harm our health and how we think. It's essential to recognize and address this issue to live a balanced and healthy life. Chronic stress and unresolved trauma can make our ability to handle stress effectively narrower. While you might think that eliminating all stress is the healthiest option, a certain amount of stress is actually natural and can even enhance our mental and physical performance. This positive type of stress is called eustress, and it's represented by the Yerkes-Dodson curve, a graph confirmed by several studies. The curve looks like an upside-down U. When stress levels are perceived as very low or very high, our performance tends to be poor. However, our performance is at its best when stress levels are moderate, in the middle zone of the curve. Each person's perception of stress varies. Imagine your ability to handle stress as a window. The size of your window determines how much stress you can handle while still performing well. Inside your window, your thinking brain and survival brain work together harmoniously. Your survival brain activates stress arousal, and your thinking brain comes up with strategies to cope with the situation. It also helps the survival brain with recovery afterward. However, chronic stress or trauma can narrow your window. This means that it takes less stress to push you outside of your window, causing you to feel overwhelmed or even have a breakdown over small things, like spilling coffee on your keyboard. Once outside your window, it becomes harder to make healthy decisions to address your dysregulation. Instead, you might resort to unhealthy coping mechanisms like drinking, overeating, binge-watching TV, or even self-harm. These unskillful coping tools might offer temporary relief, but they worsen dysregulation in the long run and further narrow your window. Sadly, many people live outside their windows most of the time. Constantly being in stress mode takes a toll on our mental and physical health, leads to poor job performance, and increases the likelihood of impulsive decisions. To break this cycle, it's crucial to understand what determines the size of your window. By recognizing and addressing the factors that narrow your window, you can work towards improving your ability to handle stress effectively and maintain better overall well-being. What determines the initial size of our window? The initial size of our window, or our ability to handle stress, is influenced by our genes, childhood experiences, and traumas we've gone through. Genetics play a part in determining how we respond to stress and how much stress we can handle. The genetic material we inherit from our parents can influence our stress response. Surprisingly, research shows that genes can even carry trauma. In a study with mice, traumatic experiences from previous generations affected the behavior and metabolism of the third generation of mice, showing that trauma can be passed down through genes alone. However, while genetics set the baseline, how they are expressed also depends on our environment. Early life experiences significantly shape how our mind and body handle stress. Babies learn to respond to stress through interactions with their caregivers. For example, if a baby has a depressed mother during their early months, it can affect their stress hormone system and make them hypersensitive to stress later in life. Childhood trauma, such as abuse or having mentally ill or addicted parents, can also impact the size of our window. Kids who experience early life stress may have larger and more reactive amygdalae, the survival brain region, and smaller prefrontal cortices, the thinking brain region. This can lead to difficulties in accurately assessing the safety of situations and poor impulse control. Unfortunately, this can make them more vulnerable to future traumas, leading to a cycle where people with challenging childhoods seem to attract more trauma. Dysregulation caused by childhood trauma can result in hormone imbalances, immune system problems, and chronic inflammation. It is closely linked to stress-related diseases like depression, addiction, and diabetes. Trauma is not just related to major events, but also how we experience them. Trauma occurs when we experience a high level of stress and feel helpless in a situation. This can happen in accidents, experiences of violence, loss of loved ones, or significant disappointments in our careers or personal lives. While we cannot change our biology, childhood, or past experiences, the first step to improving our ability to handle stress is accepting the current size of our window. By recognizing and understanding our starting point, we can take steps to widen our window and improve our overall well-being. How to widen our windows? To widen our windows, which means improving our ability to handle stress and trauma effectively, we need to take two important steps: creating understanding and practicing attention. To start with, understanding ourselves is essential. We need to know how we personally react to stress and trauma. One way to do this is through journaling, where we write down our experiences and behaviors. For instance, we can make a list of all the traumas we've experienced in our lives, both big and small, and not dismissing the so-called little things. We should also identify the current sources of stress in our lives, like work pressures or family conflicts. Additionally, it's crucial to reflect on the coping tools we use, such as smoking, overeating, or excessive exercise. By doing this exercise, we gain insight into our past traumas, current stressors, and coping mechanisms. The second step is to use our thinking brain to help our survival brain recover from stress and trauma. The thinking brain cannot simply switch off stress, but it can guide our attention in a way that makes the survival brain feel safe. When the survival brain feels safe, it can initiate the process of recovery. Over time, with repeated cycles of stress and recovery, our window for handling stress will naturally expand. Mindfulness is a powerful practice that can help us train our attention effectively. It involves two core principles: focused attention and open monitoring. With focused attention, we concentrate on a particular sensation, sight, or thought without judging ourselves. If our mind wanders, we gently bring our focus back. Open monitoring involves being aware of everything happening in our inner and outer environment with a neutral curiosity. Practicing mindfulness allows us to direct our attention towards things that help our survival brain feel safe and grounded. It is a crucial step in healing from stress and trauma. If you're interested in learning more about mindfulness, you can find detailed tutorials by clicking the information button above. To discharge stress activation and widen your window, you can practice two basic exercises from the Mindfulness-based Mind Fitness Training (MMFT) program designed by the author to help soldiers handle stress and trauma better. The first exercise is called the Contact Points exercise. Find a comfortable place to sit with your back against a wall and feet flat on the ground. Close your eyes and focus on the feeling of being supported by the chair and ground. Pay attention to the points where your butt and feet touch the chair and floor. If your mind wanders, gently bring your attention back to these contact points. Practice this exercise daily for 5 to 20 minutes. Once you're familiar with the contact points exercise, you can move on to the ground release exercise. This exercise helps your survival brain feel safe and initiates recovery after stressful events. It's useful to do this exercise after mild or moderate stressors, like an argument with a loved one, to train your brain to use this skill automatically. For the ground release exercise, find a safe and comfortable place to sit or lie down with your eyes closed. Pay attention to signs of stress activation, like a fast heartbeat or racing thoughts. Acknowledge that you are activated by saying, "I'm activated." Now, shift your attention to your contact points and focus on the feelings of being grounded and stable. If your attention goes back to your stress symptoms, gently bring it back to the contact points. Over time, you may notice symptoms of release, such as tingling, heat waves, slowed breathing, or even laughing and crying. These are signs that the release is working, so don't resist them. These exercises may appear simple, but they require practice and dedication, especially in the beginning. If you keep at it, you'll gradually train your mind and body to recover fully and efficiently from stress, and your window for handling stress will expand. With consistent practice, you'll be able to better cope with stress and trauma in your life. Mindfulness-based mind fitness training, MMFT, and healthy habits are powerful tools that can help us manage stress, emotions, and chronic pain, as well as heal dysregulation. MMFT exercises are not limited to dealing with stress. They can also be adapted to address difficult emotions and chronic pain. For managing overwhelming emotions, you acknowledge their presence and then ground yourself by focusing on your contact points, where your body makes contact with the chair or the floor. Similarly, MMFT can be applied to chronic pain by directing your attention to the edge of the pain. During mindfulness exercises, over time, this can increase your tolerance to the pain and potentially reduce its intensity. In addition to MMFT, developing healthy habits is crucial for better stress management, emotional well-being, and physical health, ultimately leading to an expanded window of resilience. Dysregulation may lead to unhealthy coping habits like substance abuse or overeating, but by building healthier habits, we can replace these unhelpful behaviors and improve our overall well-being. To build healthier habits, self-reflection and awareness are vital. Identifying the unhealthy coping mechanisms we tend to use and the comfort they provide allows us to find slightly healthier alternatives to replace them. For instance, instead of relying on TV shows for social comfort, we can prioritize spending time with friends in person. The big four habits that contribute to reducing overall stress levels are maintaining an active social life, getting enough quality sleep, maintaining a balanced diet, and engaging in regular physical exercise. Practicing mindfulness and journaling can help us become more aware of aspects of our lives that may not be serving our well-being, enabling us to consciously work on improving them. In conclusion, Widen the Window by Elizabeth A. Stanley serves as the foundation for this enlightening video. By incorporating healthy habits and practicing mindfulness, we gain the powerful tools to effectively manage stress, emotions, and chronic pain. As we consistently apply these techniques, our window of resilience gradually expands, leading to enhanced mental and physical well-being. We extend our heartfelt gratitude for joining us on this journey of discovery. If you found this information valuable, we kindly ask you to like, share, and subscribe to Rumble Notes to stay updated with more insightful content. Together, let's continue to explore and nurture our well-being. Thank you. Thank you.